church is actually the funniest place. Mm-hmm. You can see. So there's a guy where I grew up in Chicago. Like when the spirit would be really high in service, this guy literally would walk on the pews, like dancing, and then we would laugh so hard. I'm like, if social media was around then, like, my wife and I laugh about that all the time. Like the kind of stuff we've seen in church is so hilarious. So especially for people who've never experienced it.
Right.
So you never experienced a black church, a black Pentecostal church, like somebody screaming out or somebody like, what in the world? You know, somebody starts speaking in tongues or something. Like that can be like jarring to somebody. And for me, it's like, oh, that's just sister so and so. You know,
she just catching the spirit.
And it's first Sunday. You know, Lord. You know. So and then it's like, well, do you understand her testimony?
You are now tuned into Native Collect. Collective.
Hey, hi, welcome back to another episode of Ing in LA, where we love talking about doing all things in and around the city of Los Angeles. I'm E from Inglewood, and with me, as always, is my co-host H from all over LA. With us today, talking about Prais-ing in LA, is a very special guest, a gospel music artist and producer, and now a pastor in Inglewood, California, Mr. Jason Shepard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, E. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. How's it going, H?
No, it's
nice
good,
to meet
man.
you guys.
Now, do you go by, is it Pastor J or is it, like, are we going all initials today?
Right. You know, yeah, let's do it. I go by Pastor J.
All right.
So Edge.
Yeah, we're
exactly. So, Pastor J, are you a native to Los Angeles or are you a transplant?
I'm not a native. I'm born and raised in Chicago.
Okay.
I've been living in LA since 2016.
Wow. Okay.
So it's been a while, but I'm born and raised in Chicago. Still, very much have my Chicago roots. Family still there. Mom and dad, a lot of friends, but absolutely love LA. Have adjusted to life here in LA, and all that it has to bring, the joys and the sorrows,
and the weather,
Oh my God, beautiful sunny day today. But yeah, I love the city.
Okay, now did you take a day off from Jesus today, or?
I did not. I did not. My Sundays start very early.
Okay,
and we have a 9 a.m. service, so was able to go have service this morning. Had a great word on today, and I'm here today with you lovely people, so I'm ready to get it rolling.
All right, now, how did you actually get connected to our little podcast here?
Well, a good friend of mine, Ashley, which is interesting. Ashley's one of the first people that I met when I moved to LA.
Okay.
Through a mutual friend, which is even funnier. Not even going to go into that story. Because I know she probably wouldn't want me to go into that story.
She's over there.
No, she definitely does not. She definitely does not.
But we met through a mutual friend, and Ashley has always been a person who was extremely helpful. So I believe, sometimes when you come to a new city, you hear a lot of things, especially about LA. People in LA are pretentious. No one's helpful, blah, blah, blah. But her being one of the first people I met, being extremely helpful, extremely kind, extremely friendly, it made my adjustment here a lot easier. So, anything Ashley asks, I'm on it.
Yeah, she's a great person to know.
Amazing person to know.
Shout out to our producer, Ashley. And we'll get into more with Pastor Jay right after this short break.
Hey, I'm Wynn Chardon, and I'm excited to be a part of Native Collective Digital Membership Waitlist, where I'm tapping into a range of resources and connecting with professionals. This platform is proven beneficial in helping me stay organized and maintain a proactive approach as I continue to make a leading impact in the community.
Hey there, it's your girl E. If you're anything like me, you're probably tired of searching for one place that truly identifies the cultural diversity in the melting pot that is Los Angeles. Well, I've got some really good news for you. I'd like to introduce you to Native Collective, the hottest, most exclusive private membership club that's about to change the game.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy AP here, man, Alex Porter. And in the midst of using my gifts, I am now collabing with and partnering up with Native. That is right. I just signed up for Native's digital membership waiting list. And what Native is, or what they do, is they put you around others that is like-minded in your industry or in your lane. I just signed up and got on their waiting list, man. This drop is about to be phenomenal. I'm telling you, big things is happening in 2024. Native is the place to be. You need to get there ASAP. Big things happening. Once again, native.com. Go sign up now. Get on the waiting list. And look, see, I just left SoFi Stadium because I just came from a celebrity basketball game playing right now, because that's what Native do. They put you around the people that is like-minded in your industry and what you do. So I don't brag or push things that I'm not a part of. So go sign up now, get it cracking. Let's make it happen. All right, let's get it. Go Native.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Shamley. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I just signed up for Native's collective digital membership waitlist. I am a real estate agent and entrepreneur, and I'm going to use Native's resources to meet other like-minded professionals, clients, and investors. This is something I'm truly excited about, because not only is Ashley a friend of mine, but someone I respect heavily in her field. And if she tells me that I need to meet someone, whether it's in person, via Zoom, or talk to them, I can trust that it's not only worth my time, but it'll be a mutually beneficial relationship. So I encourage anyone who's thinking about it to also do the same.
So tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from a gospel music artist and producer into your current role as a pastor.
Great question. So I grew up in the church, born and raised in the church, and it's always been my foundation. Moving to LA, my whole goal and dream was pursuing music.
Okay.
And I was hitting the ground running, getting placements in TV commercials, things I hadn't done before.
Right.
And then, of course, I have a family. I have a wife, been married almost 19 years. Shout out to my wife, Stacy, and my two amazing kids.
Aww.
We had yet
Wait
to...
a sec. When did you get married? You were like 12?
Right. I was just thinking the same thing.
Happening?
Heaven help me, because I was like, is that illegal for you?
Yeah, wait a second.
So believe it or not, I'll be 45 this year.
Okay. Whoa, all right.
I'll be 45.
Congratulations.
Hey,
Yeah.
You see what God does for y'all?
Yeah.
See what he does.
You know what they say.
Moving to LA.
Hey.
But we were on this journey trying to find a church that we could connect to. And we had yet to find one. Like, we bounced around, looked here and there, and we're both, me and my wife were both church kids. And, we were like, just nothing was like fitting.
Yeah.
No, things are happening in our personal lives that were great. We were making friends. Our kids were in school. It was that one last piece of a church.
Right.
And, I just kind of put it out of my mind until, like, one day I really just felt God say, you haven't found the right church because you're supposed to start one.
Right.
And I think sometimes we can hear this voice that's asking us to do something bigger, and it could be intimidating.
Oh, for sure.
And I said, I didn't come here to start a church. Are you crazy? This is LA.
Yeah.
No, people, who's gonna come to church that doesn't know me? Who's gonna come to church? Like, I haven't established enough relationships with people. And I'm here I am this whole time giving God resistance, but he just kept giving me grace. The more I gave him resistance, things that I was trying to do weren't quite working. I said, well, I need to be obedient to the voice of God.
Amen.
And, I'm glad that I did that. And so we actually started our church during COVID.
Wow.
2021, we started online.
Okay.
So it was a very interesting time, of course.
Yeah.
No one could go into a building. No one could do anything. So I said, okay, God, I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to start online. We started our church, having service on Facebook.
Okay.
And we got connected through a church planting organization called ARC. There are a lot of great organizations that can help new church plants, because we're essentially a church plant. So you are starting a church from scratch.
Right.
You're planting it in the ground, and they help you with resources. They help you, learn how to market, learn how to establish yourself in your community. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited that we were able to start in that way, because lots of times people who start churches, they just don't have a clue. It's like, we're just going to start having Bible study.
Yeah.
And it just fizzles out. You need to give yourself enough bandwidth to say, okay, everything is steps.
Right.
You know, you don't just sprout up overnight and be the size of a West Angeles Church of God in Christ.
Right. It's
It
the process.
doesn't work in that way.
Absolutely.
You know, so even in our, first full year of being in person, there's an ebb and flow that goes to it.
Absolutely.
There's ups and there's downs, but it's all a process. So, I wouldn't trade anything for what we've, been able to do over this past year.
Well, that's great. So your inspiration for starting a church was kind of because you couldn't really find your own church home once you kind of got here.
Yeah, it was that. And also I knew that there were people that we had to impact.
Yeah.
I knew that there were people who needed to see something different from church. There were people who have been disenchanted with church.
Right.
They were just turned off, or they needed to see another face. It had to be done another way. I remember our launch day. I met quite a few people that day, and something stuck out to me in particular. This young lady has since moved away, but she was coming faithfully for the first few months until she found a job in another city.
Okay.
She said, "This is the first time I'm finding a church on my own without my parents." So people were on their own journey to find their own space, to find faith in another faith community.
Yeah.
So lots of times you can start something and it can feel like the whiffum, like what's in it for me?
Right.
But when you really surrender to God, it's never what's in it for you.
Right.
It's what's in it for others.
Absolutely.
In the end.
How can you use me
Exactly.
to serve other people?
So this podcast is reaching other people.
Yeah.
Like everything that we do is in service to something bigger.
Absolutely.
So even though it may have been the nudge to motivate me to go and start was like, I don't have this for my family. It's like, well, now let's reach other families.
Right. It broadens your perspective a little bit.
Absolutely.
Now, since you started off kind of as like an e-church online, and now that the world has opened itself back up, do you feel like streaming online churches, do they hurt attendance physically now, or do you think they're still a good thing?
It's a great question. I think it's not enough data yet.
Okay.
Because I really believe that the church has to learn how to move into an even more open and creative space, and how they see what is effective.
Right.
Like I grew up old school, so if you're not in church, like it doesn't count.
Exactly.
So like the older people like watching online is like watching on TV. It doesn't count. Like, but now I'm like, well, if let's say you on a Sunday morning, 50 people come into your building, that's great. But then you multiply that, let's say you do a clip from your sermon and 500,000 people watch the clip.
Right.
Now your reach is exponential.
Exactly.
So I think now, I feel differently, because now it's about like, what's the reach?
Yeah.
Like how many people are we reaching and what are we reaching them with? So you have to have people who are like way more forward thinking in how you reach people. So essentially, if the Lakers are playing,
Right.
Staples Center only holds 30,000 people. But how many more people are watching the game?
Exactly.
And so I think church has to start looking at itself in that nature. Like, how many people are you reaching effectively and ultimately touching their lives for them to have some sort of transformative change?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a question on that. So how do you balance the two, right? Because obviously there's a lot of things, on social media about some of the craziness in church and some so how do you, is it balance? Is it take a look at traditional as opposed to new, I guess we gotta call it marketing plan on to attract people and keep them? Because unfortunately or fortunately today it's a lot of shock therapy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shock you so that you can come in and you want to come to hear the Lord, but you also want to come over and see what kind of craziness is gonna happen.
That's a great point. I think it all depends on the personality of the individual as well. Me by nature, when it comes to like shock, I'm not that personality.
Right.
Now, when I talk about sports, I'm all in.
Totally different.
LeBron is not the GOAT.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh boy.
I'm that guy.
Wow.
Oh, we are getting so yes.
So I'm that guy.
Agreement
I'm
there.
that guy. But when it comes to I know, Jordan all the way. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world I can ever say LeBron's a GOAT, and I'm from Chicago. It's just not going to work. But when it comes to what I see a lot of different preachers doing, they're, I try not to have too much of an opinion on that because I get where they're coming from at times, and it's not that I agree with a lot of this. Like some of the stuff is just like, really, like what are we doing? Like, is it now like, just straight up shade room?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Like you said, it's like the shock value.
Yeah, it's just straight up that. So I begin to question, well, where is a transformative life come in through that?
Right.
Now, if you tell me I'm gonna shock someone and then they get to transformation, then I'm all for it.
Right.
But if you're just shocking people for shock's sake and for numbers' sake, but how do you lead people into transformation? And how do you lead people into really leading them to Jesus in a way that shows that the power is inside of you, that God has a transformative power inside of you that's ready to come out.
Right.
So, I see what people are doing, but for me, it's not really my thing.
Right.
It's not really my thing. I laugh at some of it. Some of it's hilarious.
Right.
Some of it's just like, man, that's crazy. Like, really. And then also too, growing up in church, you see, church is actually the funniest place. You can see. So there's a guy where I grew up in Chicago. Like when spirit would be really high in service, this guy literally would walk on the pews, like dancing, and then we would laugh so hard. I'm like, if social media was around then, like, my wife and I laugh about that all the time. Like the kind of stuff we've seen in church is so hilarious. So I enjoy content from like comedians who relate on that level as well.
Okay.
So like again, so I'm not going to condemn that because it's a funny, like church can be funny, especially for people who've never experienced it.
Right.
So you never experienced a black church, a black Pentecostal church, like somebody screaming out or somebody like, what in the world? Somebody starts speaking in tongues or something. Like that can be like jarring to somebody. And for me, it's like, oh, that's just sister so and so, know.
She just catching the spirit.
And it's first Sunday, So and then it's like, well, do you understand her testimony? Like 5 years ago, she was in a horrible situation,
right?
So now we start getting to like, again, I keep going back to the transformative power. I believe that God, sent His Son Jesus to give us a transformative experience and an encounter. So. However people get to that part, I'm all for it.
That's great. We kind of touched on some of the reasons people either haven't been to church lately or haven't been at all. And I know that one of the reasons is some people think that church has kind of become too much of a business.
Yeah.
What is your response to that?
My response would be is your whole life is a business. You're the CEO of your life.
Okay.
And I think if you don't look at church as a business, then I think you're actually cheating yourself at truly understanding how things operate. We're in this room with like all these cameras and microphones and computers.
Yeah.
It's a business set that up.
Yeah.
In order for me to legally be a pastor, I had to go through the business steps, through the state of California, setting things up legally.
Oh, wow.
It's all a business. This country runs on business.
Right.
So churches can't function unless they are doing things on the up and up business-wise. Now, I see where people get turned off when it comes to, all they talk about is money. I can understand that, but I would also ask, typically when you start diving and asking the bigger questions, how much have you contributed to the business of the church? And how much do you know about it? Many people can't answer that.
Right.
Because they don't participate in that. So they see, oh, well, you raise an offering and the church gets this from the offering. It's like, well, who's on payroll? What does insurance cost?
Right.
What does the venue cost?
Yeah.
What is the cost to have somebody, come clean the place? Like everything has a cost to it.
Right.
So, and the church is no different. It's a nonprofit organization, and anything that's an organization is a business.
Absolutely.
Churches can get sued.
Yes.
Because they're businesses.
Yes, they can.
And you need protection. You know, so I would say this as well. I would guard people from going to a church that isn't legally organized.
That's good advice.
If the church isn't legally organized, I would run away from that.
Yeah.
Because now, like, where's the protection?
Right.
So in some ways, the business part is a protective agent on both ends. It protects the interests of the pastors or the board of directors and also the people who are members. Because if not, where's the protection?
Right.
Yeah.
So business is how we get everything done, really. Like, if we take it on a bigger level,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everyone is always doing and conducting business. But I do understand that there's always questions
For sure.
when it comes to like legalities and money. Like, well, how does that work? And how does that work?
Yeah.
And sometimes we only see people who have had issues. But many people don't really know the stats, right?
Right.
So I'm a stats guy, I'm a sports guy.
Of course.
So if you look it up, like how many pastors would you estimate are in the US?
In the U.S.?
Yeah. What would your estimate be?
138,000 pastors.
That's a great guess. But it's
I'll
way
say mine.
over. It's only about 50,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of low. Dang.
So, so there's this misconception that there are like all these pastors out there who are like getting money, when really and truly, like 70% of pastors are bivocational, which means they have to work multiple jobs just to have a living wage.
Right.
And most pastors aren't even able to really have a church that gets to a point where it is financially sustainable. So I think if people actually ask bigger questions concerning the business, they would understand that it's really a labor.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be called to do it, because no one in their right mind would choose to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna go pastor. I'm just gonna,
Right.
It's literally something that I would advise for if anyone feels a call to do it, like do it, but just know that it's a journey.
Yeah.
Even the business side of it,
Yeah.
it's all a journey. So anyone who has made it to a point where, the church is at scale and all that stuff, I applaud that. Like, I celebrate people who've been able to be successful at it, because it is
Not easy.
it's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
So many. It's such a small scale of how many pastors there are versus the population of the country. So people can go and come at churches. It's like, I don't like it, I'm gone, but pastors can't do that.
Yeah.
If you're a pastor that said, I'm not doing it.
It's
like,
not for me.
Some do it.
Yeah.
But most really are just at a point where they're like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just keep going, no matter like how hard it is, no matter like if I'm criticized, I could say something wrong. I could be saying, someone could have a comment watching this now and say, this guy's full of it. What he's saying is,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm called to do.
Right.
So.
I'm sorry. I find this very interesting because everybody knows. Like, I'm huge. I like looking into churches a lot because I find church culture, not besides church culture, it's more of when somebody can follow somebody
Yeah.
who, and there's a huge percentage of people who are really called, and there's a small percentage who obviously not. And I'm not going to say some of these big mega churches, but of course the transparency part and all that building with it. Like, what do you say to all of that, right? Because obviously they are going to point out that some people have huge mansions, but there's also a lot more churches that are small that are just trying to survive and thrive really with everything else. Like, what do you say about that? Because honestly, that's my thing with everything with church.
I go back to, if people's lives are being transformed at the church, I'm all for it. I'm all for people having a mansion. I'm all for people living modestly. Like, if someone had a goal to have a mansion and they got it, great. If their goal is to drive like the most economical car, and like, I think the struggle is that people enjoy almost seeing pastors and ministers being in like a pauper, low position. Like, they would much rather see them struggle than to be thriving.
Right.
Yes.
And there's it's an interesting case study.
Yeah.
I don't want to struggle.
Yeah, no, you're actually right.
I don't want to struggle, even though I've struggled before in my finance. Like, it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
But being in the world of music, if you're in music and you're working diligently, and you've been the starving artist, and then all of a sudden somebody picks up one of your songs, and then you're no longer. Then it's like, we celebrate that person.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what about the pastor who's been preaching for 25 years? Writes a book, and then all of a sudden, I think giving grace to understand the story behind, individuals.
Yeah.
But again, there are also those radical stories that we hear that are extremes.
Right.
That's like, well, that's not really a fair representation of the 50-some thousand pastors.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is a show called Preachers of LA.
There is.
Little Birdie told me. Have you seen it before?
So I saw the first season, the first couple seasons, and I saw that there's a reboot coming up. I saw a clip from it.
Oh boy!
And it's, to me, some things are better left where they were.
Right.
And I honestly feel like that show is better, like, where it was.
Left unaired.
I saw a clip, and Pastor Ron Gibson was talking about flying first class.
Oh, my goodness,
I was like, so stop making it harder for new pastors. Like, you making it hard for us out here. Like, truth be told, like, the show is cool, but to me, like, let's spin it in something different.
Right.
And again, all those men have had amazing careers. They've reached a lot of people. But as far as the show itself, I'm not tuning in. I'll see the clips. I'm not tuning into that show.
So just for the record, if you and your wife are traveling,
I watch what
and one of you gets upgraded to first class.
I love it, E. I'm a sitting coach.
That's right. It's real man, right?
Or we both sitting in coach, or what we could do, because we both business people. I would strike a deal with somebody.
Okay.
Hey, you want to buy this first class seat from me, and get this little,
That's in Chicago coming up.
When we get to this spot, now we can upgrade our hotel, right. So that's how I look at it. But there's nowhere in the world I'm sitting in first class and my wife is not. Come on, man.
I feel that.
What we doing?
What are we doing?
What we doing out here in these streets? Don't make any sense.
That'd be what you would do. That's good.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about the online presence of a lot of pastors, a lot of churches. What are your thoughts on, kind of going back to preachers also, what are your thoughts on, men of the cloth and their families kind of engaging in more secular activities?
I guess Could you be more specific when you say secular?
Okay, I use secular very loosely, so I meant like going on TV and kind of maybe misrepresenting themselves or doing something that maybe someone who grew up in the old school church wouldn't necessarily do.
So I would just put it this way: my family ain't going on TV.
Okay, there we go.
I'm just my wife ain't going on TV. I ain't going on TV. We just, this is what like podcast talking, me being more like a talking head, I do that. Yeah. But, anything that's going to put me in a light where I have to show like way too much of my private life, I'd rather just bring me on to be the voice of reason and counsel.
Right. That makes sense.
I'd much rather do that. Man, I'm glad they brought Pastor J on this show because, man, they was acting crazy. And he came in there. He
evened it all out.
I'd rather be that. Now, if you want to call me on there to be that, I'm cool. But turning up, nah.
Not for you.
That's just not me. That's not me. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously as a music artist, you must love music.
Absolutely.
So I know that you're aware of the whole like Drake, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole situation.
When that happened,
do you think that there's kind of like the same type of beef within the pastor community?
You're asking some great questions. Yes.
Okay, let's touch on that.
There's absolutely beef that goes on. And it's annoying because members don't belong to anybody.
Right.
Like nobody belongs to so what are you beefing over? You're doing like we're supposed to be doing the same thing. I can see the competitive nature in music. It's like, hey, yo, I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. But like, what are we beefing about being a better preacher? Like that's really
the word better.
Yeah, it's to me, the preacher beefs are real and it's ignorant.
Yeah.
To me, it's ignorant. Like I've seen, but on the flip side of that, I have way more alliances of pastors who are just like, what do you need? Do you need help?
Yeah.
So showing the side where there's like this contention when it really shouldn't be. Like, what are you beefing about?
Right.
What did somebody take something from you? Did you go in his church and strong arm his church?
Stealing my holy water.
You go in the back and take the communion cups. I mean, so to me, I just kind of, I see it and I go, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It's like you lose sight of what you're doing this work for.
Yeah. Now I will say that there was beef. There was holy beef in the Bible.
Yeah, of course.
Peter and Paul didn't get along. They weren't really rocking with each other like that, but they figured out how to stay on the other side. This is my territory, this your territory, and we ain't really rocking with each other like that, So I think preachers have to learn how to do that. Like, you stay over there, I stay over here, we good. If you need something, you can call me, and it should be the same with vice versa. Right. So no pastors, no preachers should ever be in such a beef to where you can't call them and get help for anything that you need. Right. You should be able to call anybody at any given time. That's the difference in how small this brotherhood is, or sisterhood if it's a woman pastor. You know, it's that small, it's that tight. We should be able to call each other for whatever we need.
So we're not getting any gospel diss tracks anytime soon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
No holy beefs.
No holy beefs.
You have to use that a lot. Listen, I got a holy beef with you.
Right?
I'll definitely calm some people down.
I've been called to beef with you.
Yeah, right. Wait a second. All right, so we love social media algorithms.
Yep.
Like what's on your FYP, your For You page. If we scrolled on it right now, what's on there?
So I'm on YouTube. So I'm a YouTube guy. Like right now, I'm really big on Myron Golden. Is kind of like my mentor from afar. I haven't met him yet. So Myron Golden, if you're watching this, I wanna sit down with you. And it costs a lot of money to sit down with Myron Golden.
Come on, Myron.
You're gonna say a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father.
But Myron Golden, I get a lot of wisdom from him. Like how he blends Bible along with business principles is one of the best I've ever seen. Also, Miles Monroe, who's my favorite preacher of all time. Miles Monroe is in my algorithm. There's another guy, he's since passed away a while ago. His name is Reverend Ike. And that's going to be controversial to some people because Reverend Ike was more of a, how would I describe it? He calls his preaching the science of thinking, I believe.
Okay.
But it's very biblically based. So also in there, in my algorithm is Joe Budden podcast. You know,
I feel like that one's probably more a little controversial.
Very much. You know, I like Joe Budden. Joe Budden is, you know, I love the way, you know, Joe Budden looks at, you know, different angles of what's happening. A lot of fishing videos.
Okay. Like fly fishing? Deep
Just
sea
fishing. Like, so fishing to me, like when I was a kid, I would wake up Saturday mornings and watch fishing shows. Wow. So now it's kind of like watching fishing videos on Instagram or YouTube is like, it's relaxing.
Yeah.
Well, now
it's
I gotta
something
ask.
about watching fishing videos. It's like, oh man, like he caught like this 5-pound bass. And it's really cool.
So we can say YouTube is teaching a man to fish.
Oh,
bars.
wow. If I could drop this mic right now, I don't know. So we're going to play a quick game.
Let's go.
Everything ends with ing.
Let's go.
I'm still trying to catch this game to its fullest potential because I'm struggling here. All right, so.
Struggling.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
Struggling.
There you go.
In this game. All right, so if you were going to drive somewhere in LA, where are you driving?
Oh, well, because I live close to the South Bay, I'm an Inglewood guy. I love Manhattan Beach. I love anywhere in that area. It's relaxing. It's not far from where we live, and it's not like hustle and bustle.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so on like a beautiful day, like a beautiful morning, I'll just drop the kids off at school or bus stop, take the wife, hey, let's go to Uncle Bill's.
Yeah, and let's go.
Shout out to Uncle Bill's Pancake
Uncle
House.
Bill's
Uncle
Pancake
Bill,
House.
I'm going to have to visit you soon again, Uncle Bill. All right, so do you still play any sports? Do you like do any activities? Like, what do you?
So the most I do is I'll go to the gym. So for me,
where are you
it's
gymming?
Gymming, LA Fitness. I told my son, so my son plays basketball and he's getting pretty good.
Okay.
And he crossed me over.
Oh.
And I was like, bruh, like, I'm not playing you. Like you're not. I'm not gonna tear the Achilles playing my 13-year-old son. You're better than me. I told him. I'm like, you're better than me. I don't care. You're tall. You're getting taller than me. You're better than me.
Yeah.
I have no business playing basketball. I'm not one of those guys that's like a weekend warrior, live to play. No. I value my legs. So everything that I do in the gym is like functional.
Right.
Yeah, all those things, yeah. Well, I'm not going to ask you where you're hospitaling, so I'm going to ask you why or where should people be worshiping? One word answer.
Illuminate Church.
Oh, there
what
it
you
is.
talking about?
Shameless plug.
Illuminate Church.
Illuminate Church.
That's right.
All right, let's dive into some business stuff. I'm huge on that part. All right, talk about like your approach to business, and I've got a few questions, so we're gonna go through them quickly. All right, how do you, when you look at your church, Illuminate Church, the business side, what are the 3 things business side you are trying to get done on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, right now, the first goal is to like really build a team.
Okay.
Building a team is everything because if you don't have a team, you have nothing.
That's right. Yep.
And you know what I've learned is first, you know. Full year of being a person is that, you know, having too much work on me or another person just doesn't work. You got to like spread the ball.
Yeah, you need the people. That's right.
You need the people. The second thing I would say is always evaluate your marketing. Like you should always be marketing. Always look for opportunities for marketing. Always look for a way to make yourself and the church look great. So like the brand and the marketing. So even this is opportunity today, like meeting new people.
Right.
Third, I would say is just this really should be the first, but stay attuned to the voice of God. Like that may sound like the most pastorish thing to say,
but it's real.
it is the real. Like, I had to stay attuned to like what is God telling me.
Yeah.
I have to follow His instruction, because if I'm following what someone tells me to do and it's not God's instruction, that could literally set me back 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't afford to be set back 10 years.
So we're listening. Your ABM, always be marketing, always be closing.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be doing team.
Building a
Those
team.
are the three things. All right. LA, very culturally diverse.
Absolutely.
So give me like one or two challenges that are unique as you navigate through this, as you just started the church just a few years ago.
I would say the challenges is that you're always meeting new people and you never know what they are dealing with.
And you got to remember their name.
You got to remember.
I call everybody coach. That's what.
Man,
what up, coach?
Yeah, you got to always, like, even because the name is a big thing, but you don't know what triggers a person.
Right.
So here it's like you could be wearing something that triggers somebody.
Oh,
It's like you wore something or you said something, and it's like, wait, what did I do?
Right.
So the challenging part is not always knowing what triggers people. You can be as anointed or called by God or what have you.
Right.
No one is exempt from knowing the fullness of what somebody's going through.
Absolutely.
So being able to like converse with people, like getting to know them, but people will only allow for you to know what they share.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a challenge. So even in building a team, like, okay, what don't I know? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so now I got to adjust this.
Right.
Yeah, you're constantly doing it that way.
Constantly.
Now you're musician. So we're always you're not a former musician. You are always
I'm a musician.
a musician.
Never former.
All right. Role of music in the church. Are we talking about like you want to become big time music like Hillsong or some of these other ones? Or it's like, I know you have your own style and everything else, but like, what's that role in it? And are you preaching and singing? Are you doing it all, a one-man band?
I'm doing too much right now. I'm not gonna lie.
He needs help.
I need help.
People.
To whom much is given, much is required.
I'm doing too much. But honestly, so just is my personal opinion. I think the church that's doing it, I hate to say the best, but reluctantly saying the best, I believe the church that's actually like cranking it out and really doing it here is Elevation Church.
Okay.
Pastor Stephen Furtick. Pastor Stephen Furtick is an amazing preacher and an amazing songwriter.
Yeah.
And a musician. But he's not the one on the stage doing all of that. Right. He's got the team of people. Right. Now he's helping to write the songs and getting the concepts. So when I see potentially where Illuminate can go, I only look at the best. I only look at like, okay,
Michael Jordan's.
Yeah, if I'm gonna play basketball, I'm only looking at the guys who are like Jordan, Steph, LeBron, Magic. Like, I'm going to study what they did. Kobe. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, rest in peace, Kobe. Like, I love Kobe. So I'm only going to look at like, okay, how are they doing that?
Yeah.
Right.
And some of it is like, okay, it's a huge machine behind it. So
for sure.
Without the machine, okay, if you take the machine away, could they still do it without the machine?
Yeah.
So musically, that is a big part. That when we, piece everything together with our team, that has to be one of the elements where people say, I can't miss worship when I get to church.
Yeah, right. That's right.
That is honestly my favorite part of church. I'm not gonna lie.
That's great. I mean,
love that part.
Some people are like, it's too much singing. I only want the word. And then there's some people that's like, it's not enough singing.
Yeah.
So we have to have that mix.
Yeah.
So I need to. That's why I need to step it up so E can come to our church.
Listen, I'm right down the street and around the corner. It's so funny because I know that I met Ashley after church one day, after she got out of church one day, And I was like, I didn't realize the church was so close to where I grew up. It was like, wait a minute, why am I not stepping in the church
Right
house?
in the neighborhood. I don't know why. And no excuse after today.
Listen, I was going to say, today is a work day. You blame Ashley for us being here.
Oh boy.
I asked God for forgiveness before we got here. He granted it to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
But next week, for sure, I'm definitely going to stop by.
Awesome. We'll be looking for you.
Now you talked about some lessons already that you've had in church, right? The trying to get people. You're doing everything on your own. It's also the amount of people that you're meeting and everything else. What is one struggle that is behind the curtain, right? That nobody really knows, that as in your position, your role, what you're working with.
Man, you don't realize how personal pastoring is. It's not a business transaction. Like, no pastor sees it as, no real pastor.
Right.
You know, so if someone leaves and you don't know why, that's like a punch to the gut.
Yeah.
It's like, is it me? And you know it's not you per se, but you don't know how to navigating that, because it's fighting the idea of failure every single moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if people really understand that about pastors, because we don't really get a chance to articulate that.
Yeah.
There's a high rate of suicide for pastors.
Wow.
Extremely high rate. It's because pastors deal with the feeling of failure and fighting defeat and climbing mountains every single day that you feel like you'll never get to the top of.
That's a lot that y'all are carrying.
Yeah. So it's a personal burden that no one can take it from you. My wife can't take it from me. My kids can't. Like, nothing can take that.
Yeah.
But it's literally, you have to surrender yourself daily to God. God, it's on you. Yeah. This is your thing. There's a story in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, the 22nd chapter, where Abraham is told to sacrifice his son Isaac. And God leads him to go up a mountain to sacrifice his son. Now, mind you, Abraham was old when he was given his son Isaac.
Yes.
And he tells him to sacrifice something that is essentially new. Yeah. He takes the servants and they go, like verse 5, he tells the servants to stay. Me and my son, we're gonna go worship and we'll get back to you. And so what I got out of that was, worship is our singular devotion and how we say yes to God. A lot of times we pray for stuff, like that's our petition to God.
Right.
But worship is us saying yes to God no matter what.
Right.
So I find myself now every single day in a posture of worship. That's how I say yes. That's what keeps me sane. Yeah. When I don't say yes, I'm trying to control the thing.
Yeah,
that's right.
Things feel a little more chaotic for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's really behind the curtain. So if anyone has a pastor, or someone who's a pastor, have a little bit of that grace of knowing they're going through something. I have a friend who recently just left the church he was at over, some stuff. And I know he's going through it.
Yeah.
Now he hides it a little bit more with humor, but I know
you know what's really going on.
It ain't, bruh. I know it's a real thing. So I pray for him. I'm like, don't lose your worship in this season.
Yeah, to do it. When you're looking at your church and what you are building and what God is calling you to do, what is what does the top of the mountain look for you? Even though there really is no top of the mountain, but
That's good.
When we're going, where is it where you're like, you know what, we're doing God's work in a way that I visualize, but God has given me that vision as well too.
Top of the mountain looks like to me where I don't have to come to the church on that Sunday and it operates smoothly.
Oh yeah.
I don't have to preach.
Yeah.
I can have a 5-week sabbatical and the church runs like butter, even better without me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not about me.
Right.
So if I can get that going in and it's like people are in motion, vision is happening, and people are growing, that's the top of the mountain. And it's not a number, but it's sustaining beyond me. Mm-hmm. That is, it's like when your kids are able to my daughter is 16. We're talking about getting her a car.
Oh, you were in the thick of it. He's in the thick of it. He needs help. In church and at home. 16 years old.
So when she's able to drive for the first time on the 405.
Oh, we will definitely be praying for her.
That's a real thing. Now she's
sure.
driven with yesterday. My wife said she drove home from school yesterday. I let her drive with me.
Okay.
That's baby steps.
Yeah.
So our church is still in an infancy stage. It's one. So by the time something's 1 year old, it's it's not really feeding itself all that great. It's gonna spill milk. You have stuff all over his face. You gotta change the diapers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So essentially, it's what it is. So by the time you get to year 5, hopefully you're not changing diapers.
Yeah. Right.
A
little bit more self-sustaining on their end.
Exactly.
Well, I tell you, Pastor Jay, first of all, you got this smooth voice. Doesn't he have a smooth voice? But I'm just wow. All right, Pastor Jay.
Yeah.
Now, the name of your church
Yeah.
is Illuminate Church.
Yes, it is.
Now, I'm sure there's some of you out there who heard the name and thought immediately Illuminati.
Yeah.
How dare you do that?
Yeah.
It's not Pastor Jay-Z.
That's amen to that. Pastor Jay, where'd you come up with the name?
Well, originally, when I was thinking of names, when I knew God was calling me the pastor, I was like, okay, I knew it was going to be something that dealt with light. And I was like, the Light Church. Light Church. And I was like, nah, that don't sound right. And then I was watching, I don't know if it was a commercial or something, and something said, Illuminate. And I was like, Illuminate Church. And so to me, honestly, it's Illuminate, it should be Illuminate, Church. Because it's a command. Okay. Illuminate, church.
Right.
Oh,
I like that.
Okay.
So now I have had people troll me. Oh my God. And I just go, man, did these people drop out in kindergarten? First of all, the ATE sound, when we're in school, it says 8. Mm-hmm. ATI is ATI.
Ati.
But the funny thing is that the Illuminati deals in darkness.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Illuminate deals in the light.
Yeah.
So, and I would ask people, how in the world would the Illuminati have a church that's open in Inglewood? What do you think is happening
That's
here?
their headquarters. Is Inglewood, California.
No lie. I had a person show up. This man showed up to church. No lie. Yeah, is this where the Illuminati? I said, yeah, Taylor Swift's in the back. Just wait till she comes out.
Open the schools, y'all. Oh my gosh.
I was like, yeah, this is really but people really believe, they believe whatever narrative.
Yeah.
I had people argue, no, this is what you say you are. No, this is really not. Why would I openly create a church that says Illuminati? What is that? How does that even make any sense?
Oh my gosh.
But it's something I get a good laugh out of every single time. But to illuminate means that we are the light. So it comes from Matthew, the 5th chapter. We are the light of the world. We're a city that sits on a hill that can't be hidden. And we have these core values that we live by. We have 3 core values. Is that we respect everybody. That's our first core value. That we lead with respect. So coming in the door, no matter who you are, what you believe, what you've done, where you've been, we are mandated to respect everybody. Mm-hmm. The second core value is there's safety and community. Mm-hmm. So we believe in having a faith community where there's safety, where you should be able to have connection, where you should be able to confide or build trust.
Right.
And our last core value is use your faith as your fuel.
Okay.
I think this is a day and time where people are kind of teetering on their faith, but really our faith it should be the thing that we should be able to inject into everything that we have.
Right.
And our faith should make us contagious.
Absolutely.
I want to, whatever room I walk into, I want people to say, man, he's that guy's contagious. There's something different about him.
Yeah.
So I had to figure this out, coming to LA. It was the first time I ever heard, oh, wow, you got good energy.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean?
Oh, we're so big on good energy.
The energy. And the Lord had to show me. But I really feel like the Lord had to show, no, that's my spirit in you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the good energy.
It's the God energy.
It's the good.
Yeah, well, you know what, Pastor Jay? You have good energy.
I appreciate
And you
that.
know what? I want you to share that energy right there on that camera.
That's right.
You tell people where they're going to find you, your church, your mission, your word.
That's right. Good people, thank you all for watching this amazing show on today. You can find me at Century Park Elementary School every Sunday at 9 a.m. This is Illuminate Church. You can find me personally on social media at Pastor J. Shep. Follow us on Instagram, our church, Illuminate LA.
And listen, while you're doing that, this is what I want you to do. You're going to jump onto YouTube, which is Pastor Jay's favorite avenue to watch things. And you know what he watches besides fishing videos? He watches us at Native Collective on YouTube. Then, after you follow him on Instagram, you're going to follow us at The Native LA on Instagram and all your social media networks. I'm telling you, you're going to love his message. I want to thank you.
I'd like to thank you as well.
And don't forget, she's from Inglewood. And I'm H, all over from Los Angeles. Thanks so much for joining us on another great episode of IG
in LA.
in LA.
You are now tuned into Native.
And I know that I forgot the socials again. Please don't shoot me. Oh my God. I can hear y'all whispering. I'm like, it's like, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We'll all be on top of it.
At least we don't have
Never
earpieces.
Figured it in at the end.
Yes.
What the fuck did you miss?
Native Collective.
What's up, everybody? It's Pastor J. You're watching Ing in LA on YouTube. Keep it locked in.